This is video number 2 on the practice quiz 4.1 to 4.3. We're on question 7. It says, write the equation of a line that passes through the point 0, 1 and the point 5, 3. Well, let me make some space for this problem. And we want the equation of the line that passes through these 2 points. Now, what could we do with 2 points? The only thing that we could do with 2 points is the slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And of course, we're going to get those values from the 2 coordinates. There's your x1, y1. There's your x2, y2. All this means is that it's your x from your first point and your y from your first point. This is your x from your second point, your y from your second point. Anyway, when you apply the slope formula, I always say rewrite it and with the division bar first and the subtractions, and then plug in the appropriate values. So up on the upper left, we have the y2, which is 3. So let's plug in that 3 right there. Upper right is y1, which is 1. So take that 1 and put it right there. The x2 on the bottom left, that's 5. So put the 5 right there. And also the x1, which is 0, right? x1, bottom right is 0. So put the 0 right there. Do the math. 3 take away 1, that is 2, and 5 take away 0 is 5. So we know for a fact that the slope is 2/5. Okay, now at this point, if you really understand what you're looking at, if you really understand what you're looking at, you'll already be able to write your equation in slope-intercept form. But I'm not going to give that away yet. Let's do what we would normally do. You would recognize that you have a slope and you have a point, okay? Now this point is a little strange because it has a 0 right there, and let's actually plug it into point slope form. You actually have 2 points, 1, 2, but all you need is 1 point and 1 slope. After all, the point slope formula is y minus y1 equals m parenthesis x minus x1. I do apologize, I did say point slope formula. It's not a formula, it's the form, point slope form. And when we use this form, I recommend rewriting it with blank spots. Y minus blank spot instead of y1 equals blank spot, parenthesis x minus blank spot. And then plug in your y1 value, which happens to be 1 right there. So you put a 1 right there in red. And then the m value happens to be 2/5. That's what we just solved using the slope formula. So 2/5 right there. And last but not least, the x1 value is 0. So you plug in a 0 right there. Now, if you look for this point on your multiple choice answers, it will not be there. So there are some answers that are in slope-intercept form. So you look for the point slope form equation, it won't be there. You're going to have to distribute. So distribute 2/5 times x, that's 2/5 x. 2/5 times 0 is 0, right? So you don't have to write anything. Now the equal sign, it does come down. The 1, the minus, and the y, that comes down as well. It's almost in slope-intercept form. It's almost y by itself. All you have to do is get rid of that 1 by adding 1. And adding 1, so my new equation, the equal sign comes down again. This cancels out. I have a y left over. Y equals 2/5 x plus 1. And of course, your m value is 2/5, and your b value is 1. And that is your answer. It says write an equation. We had 2 points. We found the slope. And then we recognize that we had a point and a slope, so we use point slope form. And if you look at your multiple choice answers, you will not see that in point slope form. Sometimes you will, but on this one you won't. So we had to manipulate it and change it to slope intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. This is slope intercept form. Slope intercept. Okay, which is y equals mx plus b. And this is what you'll find. Now let's go back to what I mentioned earlier. From the beginning, right from doing this, when you find your slope, okay, once you find your slope and you recognize what you're looking at, what are we looking at here? It's a location, it's a coordinate 0, 1. Now we know when zeros are involved, they're either the x-intercept or the y-intercept. If you're not too sure about it, go ahead and graph 0 on your x, you don't move anywhere, 1 on your y, and put a dot right there. So what that really means, guys, is that this is a point on your line, and it is on the y-axis. What that really means is that they're giving you the y-intercept. The y-intercept is 1, okay? So what are they really giving you with this right here? They're actually giving you the b value of 1. So imagine this, or not imagine this, but recognize this, that we found the slope, and we recognize that this is really the b value of 1. So you could just jump right into writing it in y equals mx plus b form. Sorry about that. Y equals mx plus b, and there's your equation. So all this work was unnecessary. It's good practice because other questions we will have to do this. But on this particular problem, this coordinate itself with the 0 on the x and the 1 on the y is the actual y-intercept, the actual b value. And it's really easy to write your equation in slope-intercept form if you know your slope and you know your b value, your y-intercept. And in this case, the slope is 2/5 and the y-intercept is 1, so y equals 2/5 x plus 1. That doesn't look like a 5, I apologize. 2/5 x plus 1. We got that the long way or the quick way. Either way, we're good to go. Let's move on. Question number 8. It says a line passes through this point and that point. Please write the equation in slope-intercept form. Regardless of what form they want you to write it in, whether it's a point-slope form or standard or slope-intercept, what's the only thing that you could do with 2 points? That's right, find the slope using the slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And of course, whenever you use this formula, it'd be good to rewrite it with blank spots. Always start out with the division and then the subtractions, and then plug in your x and y values according to your coordinates. Now, with these coordinates, we got to recognize that this is your first point, and this is your x1, y1, that's your first point. x2, y2, that's your second point. And technically, it doesn't even matter which one you call your first or your second, as long as you label one coordinate x1, y1, and the other coordinate x2, y2. And when you plug it in, it'll work out and give you the correct slope. Anyway, let's actually plug in our y2 value in the upper left right here, which is -2. So that is a -2 on the upper left. On the upper right, it's a y1, which is a 4. So that goes a 4 right there. And on the lower left, it's an x2, which is a 4. Okay, wow, there's a lot of 4s here. And last but not least, down here is an x1. So an x1 goes here, and that's a 2. So we have this problem to work out. On the top, we have a -2 minus 4. That'll give us a -6. And on the bottom, we have 4 take away 2, which is 2. So our slope is really m equals -3. Now, if we were graphing, yeah, I would write it as -3 over 1, but we're not graphing it. We want to write the equation. We're using algebra, so let's keep it as simple as possible and leave it as -3. Anyway, now what do we have? We have a slope and we have some points. So when you hear point and slope, write it in point-slope form. What is point-slope form? Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. That's point-slope form. We need to know this. So like always, I recommend rewriting it with blank spots. Y minus blank spot equals blank spot, parentheses x minus blank spot, and then simply plug in your y1 value. What is your y1 value? That one says y2, so let's stay true to what we labeled. Y1 is 4, put a 4 right there. So we put a 4 right there. The m value is right here. And what is the m value? We found out that the m value was -3, so we plug in a -3 right there. And last but not least, we need an x1 value right here. And our x1 value is 2, so put a 2 right in there. Oops, let's stay with the correct color. And that is our point-slope form equation. So let's check and see what form they wanted it in. Now, sometimes they'll ask you for point-slope form, and you'll be done. That's your answer right there. But right here it says, please write the equation in slope-intercept form. Guys, I can't emphasize how important reading instructions are. Don't type it in point-slope form. It's going to be incorrect. They're specifically asking for slope-intercept form. And what is slope-intercept form? It's y equals mx plus b. So in order for us to write it in slope-intercept form, you have to have y by itself. Right here we don't have y by itself. But more importantly, even before that, notice you don't have any parentheses on y equals mx plus b. And over here we do have parentheses. So let's get rid of these parentheses. How? By distributing the minus 3 into each of those terms. So I'm going to distribute negative 3 times x, that's a negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 2, that's a positive 6. Bring down the equal sign, bring down the y minus 4. And we almost have it in slope-intercept form. All I have to do is get rid of that minus 4. I want y by itself. So I'm going to get rid of the minus 4 by adding 4. And what I do to one side, I do to the other side, add 4. And there's my answer. Y equals negative 3x plus 10. This is my slope-intercept form equation. This is what they asked for in the instructions. Type it in with no spaces between your terms. Slope-intercept form. Type in y equals negative 3x plus 10. No spaces between your terms. And that should give you the correct answer. And there it is. Y equals negative 3x plus 10. Let's move on to the next question. It reads, write the equation of the line that passes through the point and has the slope. Okay, so once again, they are giving you the point, right? This point, and they are giving you this slope. So if they're giving you the point and the slope, you're going to write it in point-slope form, especially if all the multiple choice answers are in point-slope form. So once again, what is point-slope form? It's y minus y1 equals m parenthesis x minus x1. How do we use it? Rewrite it with blank spots. Rewrite everything that's in black without putting in the red or the blue. And of course, we're going to get those values. The m value is the slope, which in this case is negative 4. So put a negative 4 right in there. And then we're going to go to the x1, y1, and we get that from these coordinates up here. The x1 value is negative 5, so you put that right here. And the y1 value is 7, you put that right here. So we need to work, actually we don't need to do anything besides change the minus minus to plus plus. And that's it, guys. There's your answer. Y minus 7 equals negative 4 parenthesis x plus 5. You don't need the plus plus 5. And as you could see, which answer is that? Y minus 7 minus 4 parentheses x plus 5. There it is. Same exact thing. Show our answer. Yep, that's the correct one. All the other ones are incorrect. Moving on. Write the equation in point-slope form, which is this. For the line that contains the points 2, negative 10, and 5, negative 1. Okay, as you could see, you already saw your answer. Let's pretend you didn't see that. Anyway, we have these 2 points, and what's the only thing you could do with 2 points? That's correct. Find the slope. Let's use the slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we're going to use this formula by rewriting it, but with the subtractions, the division bar first and then the subtractions, and then we're going to get our x1, y1 from here, and we're going to get our x2, y2 from there. It's simply your first point, your first x and y, and your second x and y. So we have our first, or our y2 in the upper left. Y2 is negative 1. And then we have our y1 in our upper right. Y1 is negative 10, so that's in the upper right. And then we have x2 in the lower left down here. x2 happens to be 5. Put the 5 down there. Then we have x1 in the lower right down here. x1 happens to be 2. Put a 2 in the lower right. Now let's do the math. Anytime you have a minus minus right next to each other, change it to plus plus. Don't mess with this guy. It's only if they're right next to each other, that's when they change the plus plus. So let's do the math. Negative 1 plus 10, that is 9. And 9 divided by 3 is m equals 3, right? We got a 9 up here, a 3 down here. 9 divided by 3 is m equals 3, so your slope is 3. M equals 3. All right, great. So they wanted us to write an equation in point-slope form. What do we need for point-slope? Well, you need a point and you need a slope. We already found the slope. Now all we need is a point. Wait a minute, we have points. We actually have 2 points. Let's use this first point. Stay true to our labeling here. So let's use this point-slope form but rewrite it with blank spots. Y minus blank spot equals blank spot x minus blank spot. And instead of y1, instead of this y1, we're gonna plug in the y1 of negative 10 right here. So that'll be a negative 10, and of course the minus minus will change to plus plus. And then the m value goes right here, and the slope we found out was 3, so put a 3 right there. And of course the x1 value right here is going to go right here, and the x1 value happens to be 2, so put a 2 right there. And this is your answer. Y plus 10 equals 3 parentheses x minus 2. Now it'd be a different story if they said write it in slope-intercept form. I would then, if they said slope-intercept form, I don't want the parentheses if they asked for it. So I would distribute the 3 to get rid of the parentheses and then subtract 10 to move it to the other side. But they're not asking for slope-intercept form. They're asking for point-slope form, and this is point-slope form. So there's our answer. Y plus 10 equals 3 parentheses x minus 2. Y plus 10 equals 3 parentheses x minus 2. All righty. What is the equation in standard form? That would be ax plus capital AX plus capital BY equals capital C. So what is the equation in standard form of the line that goes through the point 8, 2 and has the slope negative 3? So who cares what form they ask the equation to be in at the start? That's till the very end. This is how we want to submit our answer. But before that, just what do they give us? They give us a point and they give us a slope. So if they're giving us a point and a slope, what form are we going to use? That's right, point slope form. Okay, the point is in red and the slope is in blue, and that's the form we're going to use. Okay, they actually give us the slope, which is negative 3, and they also give us the x1, y1, which is 8 and 2. So I might as well label this to make it a little nicer or easier for us to understand. The m value equals negative 3. And the 8, 2 is really the coordinate x1, y1, x from your first point, y from your first point. It's the only point. How are we going to use this point slope form? We're going to rewrite it, but with blank spots. Look, I didn't write the y1, I left it blank. I didn't write the m, left it blank. I didn't write the x1, I left it blank. Why is that? Because I'm actually going to plug in the value of m. The value of m is negative 3. Negative 3 goes right here, which means it goes right here. So negative 3 is the slope that goes in place of m. The y1 value is 2, and the y1 value is 2. That it goes right in here into the y1 spot, which means that 2 is going to go right in here into the y1 spot. That's a 2. And then we have the x1, which is 8, and the x1's over here, so you're going to put an 8 right here. And that is your point slope form. Now, if it were just a bunch of multiple choice answers, I would look for this point slope form equation. Hopefully we could find it, but in this case we're not, because they're asking us to write it in standard form, which is capital AX plus capital BY equals capital C. So what do you know about this form compared to this form? Well, in this form over here, you don't want any fractions. Do we have any fractions over here? No, so we're good with that part. In this form over here, we definitely don't have these parentheses. So I need to get rid of these parentheses. How do I get rid of the parentheses? I'm going to distribute the minus 3. Minus 3 times x is a negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 8, that's a positive 24. Bring down the equal sign, bring down the y and the minus 2. So don't automatically get it in slope-intercept form, because that's not the form that we want. We want capital AX plus capital BY equals capital C. They're capitalized to help you remember that you don't want fractions or decimals. We don't have fractions or decimals. So what do we need to do? We need the x term and the y term on the left side of the equal sign, and the number that's all by itself on the right side. So I have a number 24 right here. I'm going to leave it there on the right side. I'm going to get this negative 3 and move it over here to this side. I don't want my x term over here on the right side of the equal sign. I want my x term out here in the front. So I'm going to get rid of that minus 3x by adding 3x. That will eliminate it. And what I do to one side, I must do to the other side. So I'm going to add 3x. And of course, you cannot add 3x with the y. You Can't do it. Can't add 3x with the negative 2 either. So all you could do is rewrite it. So let me rewrite what I have. I have a positive 3x, I have a positive y, I have a minus 2, then I have the equal sign that comes down, and I also have the 24. So it's almost in standard form. I have capital AX plus capital BY, but I just have this number that I need to move to the other side. That way that'll be my complete C value once I move this over. So how do I get rid of that minus 2? I'm going to do the opposite of minus 2, which is plus 2. Cancels out. What I do to one side, I do to the other side. This is my standard form equation, 3x plus y equals 26. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what they're asking for. As you can see right here, type in your answer, 3x plus y equals 26. Again, 3x plus y equals 26. They want you to type it in with no spaces between your terms. In other words, don't put 3x space plus space. Don't do that. No spaces between your terms. Type it in exactly like that. And that's how we actually wrote it right there. 3x plus y equals 26. 3x plus y equals 26. Convert the equation of the line y plus 7 equals negative 2 parentheses x minus 5 into slope-intercept form. So obviously they're giving this to you in point-slope form. This is my slope. This is my x1, y1. So they're giving you in point-slope form, and they want you to change it, convert it to slope-intercept form. So what is slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. So obviously this does not look like y equals mx plus b. I got an idea. Let me rewrite this equation down here and let me manipulate it. So how am I going to manipulate it? Again, I don't want these parentheses because y equals mx plus b doesn't have parentheses. So I'm going to get rid of these parentheses. How? By distributing the negative 2 that's in the front. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 5, that is a positive 10. And then you bring down the y plus 7 and the equal sign. Now it's almost in y equals mx plus b form. All I need to do is get y by itself. I want to get rid of that plus 7 to have y by itself. How do I get rid of the plus 7? By doing the opposite, minus 7. And of course, what you do to one side, you must do to the other. You could only subtract 7 from the 10. What do I have left? I have y equals, I have a negative 2x, and then plus 10 take away 7 is 3. Ladies and gentlemen, this is slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. That is what you want to select. And down here, when you look for that option on this question, you'll see that none of those are the correct answer. None of these. Again, the correct answer should be y equals negative 2x plus 3. And there is no y equals negative 2x plus 3. Y equals negative 2x minus 3. That's close, but it doesn't cut it. It has to be y equals negative 2x plus 3. None of these is the correct answer. Write the equation of the line that passes through these 2 points in standard form. Okay, like I've mentioned previously, it doesn't matter which form they actually want you to answer it in. Right now, you're going to start with what? With these 2 points. And what's the only thing you could do with 2 points? That's right, find the slope using the slope formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. How do you use this formula? Simply rewrite it, the division first, the subtractions next. Label your coordinates x1, y1, x2, y2, and then plug in your y2 value, which happens to be negative 3. Plug it in up on the upper left. Upper right is y1, which is positive 3. Lower left is x2, which is negative 1. And lower right is x1, which is negative 7. And of course, anytime you have a minus, minus, change to plus, plus. So what we have here is a negative 3, take away a negative 3, that is a negative 6 up on top. And on the bottom we have a negative 1 plus 7, that's a positive 6 on the bottom, which means that our slope is really a negative 1. If you go negative 6 divided by 6, that'll be a negative 1. So the m is negative 1. Now, what form do they want it in? They want it in standard form. But as of right now, all I have is the slope and some points. I have a point, I have 2 points, but I'm going to go with just this 1 point and this 1 slope. Point, slope, point, slope. What form? Point, slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So how do you use point, slope form? Again, rewrite it with blank spots. And then simply plug in your y1 value, which is 3. Put that 3 right here where the y1 is at. That is a 3. And then plug in your m value, which we found out was negative 1. put in right there where the m is at. That's a negative 1. And then finally our x1 value, x1 is negative 7. Put that negative 7 right there. And that will finish off what I needed to do. The only other thing you could do right now to make it look a little nicer is change the minus to plus plus. Now, if they said write it in point slope form, this would be your answer. However, they want it in standard form. What is standard form? It is capital AX plus capital BY equals capital C. So obviously down here we have it in point slope form and it has parentheses, and we know that standard form doesn't have parentheses. They're capitalized to help us remember that we don't have fractions in standard form, and we don't have any fractions down here, so we don't have to worry about that. But we do need to worry about getting rid of these parentheses and then moving our x term and our y term to the left side of the equal sign and leaving our number on the right side of the equal sign. So let's get rid of these parentheses, these right here. How? By distributing the minus 1. Minus 1 times x is a negative 1x. Minus 1 times 7 is a minus 7. Bring down the equal sign, bring down the y, the minus, the 3. And now all I have to do is, well, I have two things to do. I need both my x and my y on the left side of my equal sign. So I don't want my x on the right side of my equal sign. I want it on the left side of my equal sign. So I want to get rid of that minus 1x by doing the opposite, plus 1x. That'll cancel it out. Plus 1x. Now we know we can't really add y's and x's, so I'm just going to rewrite it. That's a 1x plus y. Let's write the minus 3 over again. The equal sign comes down, and the minus 7 is all that's left on the right side of the equal sign. So now at this point, what I want to do is move that minus 3 over to the other side. So I'm just going to add 3 here, add 3 over here, and this is my final answer. X plus y equals negative 4. Why negative 4? Because negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. That's my standard form equation. That's what they're asking for. That's what the answer is right here. And of course, type in the equation with no spaces between your terms. X, no space, plus, no space, y. You get the idea. X plus y equals negative 4. Don't type in any spaces on your answer. I know it was a long video. I apologize. Good luck.